And we're live. It's just about 12 o'clock. Hello, Linda. How are you doing?
Hello, Kevin.
Are you
How
well?
are you today?
Good, good, good. How's your Friday treating you?
Fantastic. That song of It's Friday, hey, hey, and Saturday, Sunday. What comes up every time when I see Friday? So I get very excited about Friday. The weekend's on its way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you?
And it's been an interesting week because of the
Mm-hmm.
holiday that we're having in South
Mm-hmm.
Africa. So the holiday has completely thrown us out a little bit. So I think everyone, well, I know a lot of people have gone away. So it's a slower week than I think than we normally have.
Yes, I've also had the same feeling, but it's a really great regroup week in many ways. Hey. So how
Absolutely,
did you
absolutely.
celebrate Heritage Day, Kevin?
We just had a nice home day, like because it's been a bit of a hectic month already. So I was just like, let's just do as little as possible and chill on a couch. And so it was a quiet, chilling day at least.
Mm.
And you?
Yeah, similar. Hey, I think we both been in flight in many ways. We don't talk about flight, not fly, flight and fight mode, but in flight, real flight, visiting KZN and Gauteng. So yes, in my home
Busy.
base in Cape Town again. So I'm very happy to be home, and I enjoyed my home as well on Wednesday. So thanks, yeah, it was amazing. And celebrating just the journey that we've traveled to date. Hey, as a rainbow
Yeah.
nation, and looking at the diversity around us, and especially on our platform as well. It's just it's one of our biggest goals is to really be fully representative in the for South Africa and beyond. So exciting times, exciting
Yeah, guys,
times.
if you are joining us, we are creating a space for growth in the coaching hour, insight and action. Every second Friday for the rest of the year, we'll be tackling powerful topics that shape who we are as leaders, professionals, and human beings. So, on the agenda today, I just want to share the agenda so we can share with our audience what we're going to be touching on. It's going to be a fantastic conversation because this touches so many lives, and I know, Linda, this has touched your life quite specifically. Um, but what we are going to be speaking through is we're just going to share some insights about ourselves. We're going to look at the big question of burnout and what burnout really looks like, how to recognize the triggers before it's too late. What values and balance are you keeping to protecting your energy? And what does that look like in practical terms? And those practical steps to moving from surviving to thriving. And then we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. We're going to look at some special offers that's up for grabs, guys. So fantastic offer from Hello Coach. So stick around for that. I'm sure you're going to love it. And then what's coming up next, right? So what we're going to do in the month of October. So before we get to that, I'm just going to share a little bit about myself and the coaching hour. So for us, doing this conversation, it's about immediate transformation and having and leaving an audience with stuff that they can actually take away from these sessions specifically. So Linda and I are actively working at creating some good speaking conversations, but also leaving the audience with tools. So every week you'll be receiving a tool that you can take away from this, and really some great insights around coaching. We're going to look at ideas to impact, obviously, and to really want to work at collective breakthroughs and turning a bit of chaos into clarity, because I think very often we go through a process like this and we get stuck. We don't always see past the chaos. And with a bit of reflection, a bit of tool sets and coaches in place that you can, which we're so passionate about, you can find a bit of clarity. And obviously for a future ready growth and growth mindset, right? Linda, anything else you want to add about, what to expect in this hour?
Sure. I think you've covered most of it, but yeah, I think what our journey is going forward is an iterative process. Where we share the information as well as the tool, and that you really take some time out to reflect on it and make it your own, because it's really your personal growth and development journey. should you want to come alongside us in doing that. And I also believe it's so good for our well-being. And I mean, we're going to speak into that quite a bit today. So yes, I think, Kevin, we've got a big task still at hand to educate an amazingly large audience of what coaching is and what it's not, and I hope, and I know it's our hope, that more start leaning into it because of the value what coaching brings. So very excited about sharing this platform with you. Thank you very much. And yes, that's really what our hour is all about.
Absolutely. So just for those who are joining and who don't know me, I'm an author, speaker, podcast host, program designer, executive coach, and entrepreneur, and have been for the last 10 years in my business. I've also worked as a facilitator and trainer and help leaders and teams unlock their potential and thrive through fast changing environments. And part of my intention for what I do in my business is to really help teams and leaders shift into a future ready thinking. And this is part of why we're having this conversation around the coaching, because we know there's such a big driver of of taking a different approach to how the future of work looks like. The book that I've written is called The Future of Work is Human, and it really focuses on helping people really tap into skill sets. And one of those skill sets we're going to be talking about and touching on, sort of lending from today, is attention management, because I think a lot of the time we don't have a grip on how to manage our attention, how to manage our energy, and what it is we should be focusing on. So it just spirals, right? So my mission in essence is to transform and help leaders transform, teams transform, one conversation at a time. And that's who I am. Linda, for those who are joining and don't know you, tell them.
Right, thanks. Thanks, Kevin. And I just want to commend you for the amazing work you do and continually do. It's in your leadership development space and speaking space, making these talking lunchtime series that you offer, and this coaching hour as well. I just want to commend you for the work that you're doing in our industry. Thank you for that. Well, I'm an avid entrepreneur. I always say I'm a 30-year-old entrepreneur, and still very passionate about it. But equally, I'm a passionate master practitioner coach and a supervisor coach, which means I supervise other coaches. And I'm very passionate about the individual. We know all journeys start with the individual, but individuals not only in large organizations and large workspaces. I'm really passionate about the leaders of entrepreneurial businesses, small businesses, startup businesses, as well as medium-sized, and of course the large entities as well. So that's really where my passion lies. It's where my expertise lies. It's part of my journey. I remain an avid entrepreneur, but whilst we're doing that, we're really helping others to grow accordingly to what they are purposeful of in their life, in career, in the personal life, etc. So with that said, my vision is big. And the vision is to bring the value of coaching to more people. And that's how we're doing that through our app called the Hello Coach app. And we're very proud to say that we have a constituent of a pipeline of 200 coaches that have bought into this vision. Because once we become a coach, all we want to do is really help others and make a difference. And by building a brand of Hello Coach, which will stand in its full glory, and that we're working toward, is that it becomes a trusted name in the marketplace, backed by amazing and seasoned coaches, which we call independent thinking partners. And that's really what our vision is, to be able to grow the understanding of what coaching is and the value that it brings to you in life and in business. So that's my passion.
I love it. And thank you for, doing this with me and creating this space, because I think some of these conversations, touching on the conversations that are closest to us, but also in aim of helping, it's just an absolute privilege for me to be able to share the stage, kind of this moment with you. So thank you for that. But moving into today's conversation, Linda. So the reason why I thought, I was recently in a conversation with an executive, and one of the stats that was brought to my, I think it was also one of the workshops that I attended with LeaderX, and they mentioned that burnout is unbelievably rife in the world currently. And they were speaking about South Africa having one of the worst rates of burnout currently. And that's astounding, but not surprising, And if you consider the state of the economy, the state of what people are going through, the political climate, the world's political climate, and all the backlash that's coming from that, and the uncertainty that it's creating, and it's almost feels like there's one thing that's a knock-on effect to another thing, right? And I know that you've also had a personal story that you're going to share with us. But before we go, just as a quick touch on what burnout really looks like, is emotional exhaustion, right? So one of the first things that we know is feeling drained, detached, and unable to engage. There's a lot of cynicism, and I think detachment that also comes from the effects that we have from what burnout can cause, and it's the withdrawal, right? It's because we lose ourselves, it is almost like a loss of empathy that we're experiencing. Also, the reduced effectiveness, so difficulty focusing, dropping in performance, creativity, and motivation. And that's, it's impacting the world in a way that's, or South Africa in a way that I don't think, it's almost like a silent killer that's sort of entering into workspace and relationships and everything. What is that stood out for you about having this conversation? Why do you think it's important right now to have this?
So, Kevin, for me, COVID really changed the world. It's changed how we see the world and how we want to engage in the world. But with that came many challenges, and so I think we're dealing with a whole lot of facets of external entities and compliance and, as you say, economic pressures. The way of work has changed, and in that there are individuals that are continuously seeking their value. Who am I in this new world of work? And we know technology is taking off. AI is a great contender out there. What's our space in all of this? How do we adopt this and not lose ourselves? And in that also retain the hope that we still have a place that we can play in and that we can work in. So I think, the uncertainty of how it looks, which AI brings hugely. There's no certainty in AI, although it has brought a lot of positive aspects to how to adopt it from a business process perspective and how it does speed up this, outputs. It's where are we as a human being in this? How do we find our worthiness in going forward, and how does that look? Because we need to adopt to that and transform accordingly. So it's about agile quotient. How agile are we? How adaptable are we? And in our uncertainty, we overdo. We go into overdrive. We possibly put more hours in. We lose our balance. We focus too much on the survival side, and then we forget about how we need to thrive in all of this. So that's very much a part of my story. When it comes to where we could find ourselves today, and we each have our own story, but it's about engaging and saying, listen, we need to pause, to reflect. Who are we again? Remind ourselves, what do we value? Where does our worth and our value sit? What are our strengths? And that all comes down to those self-awareness assessments that we are going to be unpacking going forward. And in order for us to be able to position ourselves steadfast in a world of change. and help us be grounded and not be swayed too easily. So yes, I can relate a lot to the workaholic side of things when it comes to burnout, and that's my story, which we'll go into just now.
Yeah, I just want to add to some of the notes that I was making on, why burnout is such a, it's almost like there's an energy management crisis that's happening. And if we look at workplace reality, you mentioned that always on, we're always on, and we're always ready and available, right? We don't manage our attention effectively to put off certain devices, certain awarenesses, certain attention to what we're giving. The impact that it's having on organizations, right? It's eroding teams' performances. It's eroding leaders' performances to a large degree, and it's actually costing leadership challenge that leaders are having. We can also see that there's immense pressure for, and especially in this economy, there's an immense pressure for it to get it right, right? And there's pressure for do more, do better, get it right. And you kind of, it's almost like people are grappling and they don't know how, right? Another obvious space where we are very passionate about is personal well-being and relationships. But burnout leaks into outside work, or into life from outside work, into our relationships, so our very own personal relationships, our health that suffers, our creativity that stalls. And it all stems from just being exhausted to the degree, whether it's emotional or physical. It's almost like this unexplainable exhaustion that we're going through, and we're aware of it, but we need to make things happen, so we don't really do anything about it, right? But now that's one of the conversations that I want to share with everyone today around your conversation, because you had to make significant life changes based on the fact that you found yourself in this burnout scenario. Tell us about that, because I think it's a really significant part of how you made this change.
Oh, thank you for that, Kevin. Yes, I mean, this is part of my journey, and hence me being so passionate about finding mechanisms, tools, and new skills of how to do life and business differently. So my background is advertising. I used to own advertising agencies. Below the line, I just love the industry. As you can see, I'm colorful. I used to hold a lot of colorful spaces. We used to create a lot of color. We designed a lot of brands, and below the line marketing collateral. I'm very proud to say ER24 was one of our successful launches to market. So really dynamic industry. But in that space, a lot of business lessons to be learned. And I was faced with a very big business challenge, which was this decision of having to liquidate the business based on a contract that a large organization reneged of after signing it and financing it. It was a financial institution, and needless to say, I signed unlimited surety. Things you don't do, but the bank's my partner. How can things go wrong? We're going to do this together. And needless to say, 6 months later, it really just went one way. And fast tracking another 6 months, I had to liquidate. With that, 2 months later, the sheriff was at the door and summoning me for my unlimited surety. And that's the start of my legal journey to prevent me from being sequestrated. For me as a businesswoman, entrepreneur, it's the last thing I could have afforded to be in that. So that's when my litigation journey started. Of course, the bank foreclosed on us. So all our finances were frozen, and there was just no ways of moving around. So after about 8 months, I clinched another deal with a large retailer. And it was a large recognition rewards program. And being in that panic state, you're on a hamster wheel all the time, and there's no end. And being onboarded for this recognition rewards program was amazing. It was really our savior. But whilst I was busy with this legal journey, it was running this huge contract of 80,000 people that we were, addressing during that program. And I found myself working 16 to 18 to 20-hour days. And it was amazing that it lasted so long. But, as I was going along, I realized that in this space, I was compromising my value system once I engaged with a coach. And she provided me with a values exercise. And I realized that something is not right. I need to, get off this bus. I actually left the office of another client, and I realized that, I'm compromising my values. And 2 weeks later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then only did I realize that I was at full-on burnout, and my burnout manifested as in my body as breast cancer. So it wasn't hormonal driven, it wasn't dietary, lifestyle driven, it was stress. So in the sabbatical stage of that, I realized if I didn't do life and business differently, I would not have a different outcome. So going through my procedure and my recovery, I found coaching, and coaching found me. And that's where I haven't looked back one day, because it made me better and not bitter. It brought awareness for me to manage life and business better. And with that said, I had transformed into another state. And as this picture depicts here, I became the state of charcoal. And when we become a state of charcoal, we've changed from wood that is slowly burning out, and we change, say that our whole life and our whole vision, all our filters change of who we are and how we want to apply ourselves going forward. And coaching has blessed me, because that is my purpose today and my passion towards that. And so my state has changed, but yet the industry is so colorful as well. So for who I am as color, there's no 2 people the same, there's no 2 clients the same, there's no 2 situations the same. And I love that agility of the industry as well. So burnout, yes, can change our form. It transforms us. The recovery, however, is very long. It takes years, and there are scars, because we'll never become wood again. But how can we apply ourselves as charcoal? We can form ourselves in art processes as charcoal. There is application for charcoal, and that's what I really like to talk about often is, how do we find new ways of applying ourselves. But my invitation today is, don't wait for adversity, don't wait for the burnout. Start identifying it sooner, as the picture depicts there, and find ways and means of bouncing back and making conscious decisions that you don't want to get there. I believe even there you can find purpose. Even at that stage, when you're engaging in the proactive and preventative dialogue of what coaching brings, you can change your state and your application in life. So, as I say, blessed with the opportunity to have a second chance in life and to really make a difference is really what drives me on a daily basis. And that's my message today from my perspective.
But again, what's interesting about this, Linda, is, I have a different story, and I think mine, I sort of caught it before it got to the black charcoal state. My story was, running from pillar to post. One random busy night that I was going from, flying from Cape Town back to Joburg to a networking event, and I jumped in the cars on my way home, and I got this spiking pain in my chest, and I kind of blacked out in the car, and I pulled the car over, and I phoned my partner, and I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And he's like, where are you? And he's like, can you get to the hospital? I was like, I don't know. So I managed to get to the hospital and got to the hospital and did all the examinations and all the tests that they needed. And they said to me, no, this is, a strong sign of anxiety that you're experiencing. And it's actually not you're not having a heart attack, and you have severe anxiety, and this is a stress response. And immediately that in itself Because I'm very aware of the fact that if we don't deal with our emotional states, if we don't deal with the things that are, kept up and we pent it up in our bodies, it starts showing up in other ways and other illnesses and other sicknesses. And the moment that happened, I was like, oh, okay, I really need to take stock and I need to stop. And I think, tying back into what you were saying about values, in our last session, we covered values quite specifically, and we've got a nice slide for people to go and check their values as well today. But just to cement that point is, what we know about values is they are pillars to how we will do life. We measure everything according to our value system. And, even in the moments that we don't think, maybe it's just this one time or this one client that, it's fine. And the moment that happens, we feel an uneasiness in our bodies, right? And values in itself, and that's why I think even our last conversation, we really laid into the fact that if you are not 100% sure of your values, you might be doing stuff that feels really bad the whole time. And on a long trajectory of that, your body is going to show you that you're not okay, right? And I think that's just to re-emphasize why just knowing your value, and it's a quick, easy system that you can play with and you can check out, you can test, and you can sort of go, yeah, this actually feels aligned. I mean, this week I was, coaching with a client, and he's so absolutely sure about his value system that we're now at the point where he's making life decisions of like canceling business decisions, canceling relationships, canceling, finding a different job based on the fact that his values are simply not aligned to what he actually wants. And because he's stuck to it, and because he's really followed his value system to that degree, things are happening in his world that he's like, he can't explain. And he's like, wow, like this is so amazing that this is working in this way. And it's, it all points back to, because he feels aligned with his values.
Once again, I'm speaking to you, don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. So until you know your value system, you don't know the value what it can bring to you. And once you have it, then it becomes very valuable. And that's really what it brings. And what's great about value is it's your core. It's your core speaking to you. It's your body speaking to you. And for us to become aligned to our bodies and to truly listen is very important. It's like you, that you say, is you're exhausted and you were tired, and then it was, a blackout, and then it was a heart attack thought, but it was panic and it was anxiety, and what does it take to get us to a standstill? We should listen to the body. When there's dis-ease, listen to the body. What is it? Take a step back and ponder about it. Pause and say, what is it? Where is it coming from? Is it a value being compromised, or is there something else? But being able to tangibly name it, then you can work with it. But until such time, you can't. So important to be attuned to what the body is all about and what triggers it.
I want to touch on, like, just for us to maybe speak through this as well, because I think sometimes we tend to want to point it to one direction, but we don't even notice that other directions or other areas are being impacted, right? And we look at external triggers that are unmanageable workloads, lack of control, unclear expectations, toxic cultures, poor boundaries with technology. I mean, that's time management, attention management, poor boundaries straight away, right? We're so stuck with answering a notification that it overwhelms us. It takes over our every day. The internal triggers and touching on some of the stuff we've already mentioned, but perfectionism, big one for a lot of people, pleasing, identification with work. So your entire identity becomes your work. And who are you? Well, I'm a chartered accountant. And who else are you? We get so caught up in the thing of that. And the fear of failure. I think that's another internal trigger that we'd rather work ourselves to the degree of I can't anymore than feel like I'm failing, right? Emotional triggers like chronic stress without recovery, isolation, values misaligned, we've just mentioned, unresolved trauma loops. And I think that's another one that's very often we're not aware of based on the fact that it's happened previously. And to avoid it happening, we get stuck in the loop of like the avoidance. I'm trying to avoid this thing that I don't like happening to me. And burnout feels better than that trauma feels, right? In our heads, we kind of rationale that. Physical triggers like sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, ignored body signals, right? So all of these, and there are many more, and there are, if you had to really unpack this and had time with the client, I think they would be layered at different degrees and also have different versions of, how that is showing up for people in the world. Any other triggers that you think that like we should be aware of that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think this is such a broad perspective because we can become quite narrow-minded of what, the triggers could be. So this is quite broadly positioned. But, I think when it comes to everything in life is how does our balance look? How aware are we of the various facets of our lives? Because we live a very subconscious life. We just do. So once again, it's self-awareness. And we're speaking to this emotional intelligence quadrant again. And we are unpacking tools in the self-awareness quadrant here. And this is hence we had the values tool, and today we're going to be addressing another tool. And these tools help us to identify, to name, to frame in order for us to work with it. And by engaging with these tools, we then can start seeing how we manage processes differently. As you say, your client with the values exercise could identify what's wrong and what's not wrong. What direction should I go and what direction I shouldn't go? It gives you that clarity. It assists you with decision-making processes. So it's really very powerful. And we know the toolbox is endless. However, this is what we're going to be unpacking every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and this is what's exciting about this. And this is what's beautiful about the coaching process is that there are so many tools. There's ways to kind of just start with helping us get, out of where we're at, to just make more sense of the noise and the chaos, to find a bit of our own signal. And I think this next tool is a beautiful tool for us to really unpack that a little bit better, for our brains to get on board with, well, what are my areas? What are parts of that I'm really focused on and that I've stopped paying attention to? And couple this with your values exercise, it's really going to start solidifying more clarity of where your life's at. And so don't you want to speak us through this? Because I think it's a very practical way to just start taking control of your immediate life.
Yeah, this is just such an amazing tool. It's so easy to engage with, and it really provides information at a glance once you've performed, and engaged with the tool. So as I said earlier, we live a very subconscious life. We're doing things and we're on the go, and it's always, busy. However, we actually have approximately 8 facets in our life that we need to be really clear of where we're at with these facets in our life in order to strive towards finding a good balance in life for fulfillment going forward. So if we go clockwise, we're starting at playing recreation. What are you doing at the moment to put back into self? What is your time out? I do diamond painting to just quieten myself down. It's me, my time. And by then I'm able to, they say you need to become bored to become creative. It's amazing how when you quieten down the brain, how quickly, or it takes a while, and then all of a sudden I've got a notepad next to me and I'll start making some notes. It's really a wonderful tool. Where are you putting back? Where are you going for a walk on the beach? What hike have you done recently? Or what have you engaged with? When have you watched a movie by yourself? Just doing something for self. And the play and recreation could be with others too, that really fill your tank. So it's putting back into self. What are you doing at the moment? The second one, to the right clockwise, is your personal environment and organization. how's your environment at the moment? Is it satisfied? Is it comfortable? Is it uncomfortable? Am I busy moving again? Am I sharing spaces? Is there renovation happening around me? That makes the environment, it's creating it to be an uncomfortable place to be in and to rest in. So, and how is that overflowing into how organized I am in my deliverables daily? The next one, of course, the big one, finances. How satisfied am I with where my finances are at the moment? This tool is all about the now, because it's not about where I want to be. It's what is currently happening. Where am I now? So as you can see in the middle of this tool is the target, but it's not really the target we're aiming for, because that's where the north starts. We need to scale ourselves on each one of these areas between 0 and 10. And this is where we start engaging with this tool. Where are we? Are we on a 4? Are we on an 8? Where are we? Plot it. Circle that little number and plot it. We go to health and well-being. We go to career. We go to spiritual and personal growth, intimacy and partnership, and friends and family. These are the facets we need to be aware of. We have today have a QR code for you to scan while online if need be, and to be able to engage with this tool for you to just get to a standstill, an audit, a personal audit of where are you in your life with your life balance, and becoming very aware of these areas. Would you like to contribute more to this tool as well?
Yeah, I just, I've done this tool many times in my life, and as a coach and as a coachee. So I've used it in many ways as well. And I think what's also nice about a tool like this is you can add, if one of the facets of your life is not there, just add it in as one of the important ones you'd like to measure and keep track on. And I think audit is a good word to use, Linda, because I think very often we get so busy. We are. And sometimes, we are so heavily focused on finances that we actually forget to do intimacy and partnership. We're so heavily focused on the personal environment and organization that we forget that spiritual and personal growth is still part of who you are holistically. So it's this push and pull that's happening for each individual. And it's just having that audit to kind of go, so where am I? How am I doing? And how can I do this in a very practical kind of, visual way, so I can see what do I think I'm at? And I would even, frame this and say, if you're doing it with a partner, do this, individually, and then partner up with your partner and say, okay, cool. For us as a family, have a family wheel, create a family wheel for yourself, and kind of go, where do you think where we're strong and where we're not strong? What should be focused on? What should be focused on less? How do we find a bit of balance? I think that word you used also important. How do we find a bit of balance so that it's not just, and when you also comparing notes with your partner and doing this as a team, you kind of go, okay, cool. This is what my partner's doing for their lives. What am I doing for mine? And how do we compare notes? And is it working? Is it matching at all? Right. And I think that's why it's such a beautiful tool, because it's how do you use it and how do you make it your own? And I think that's what's beautiful about it.
That's absolutely. And it's so easy to continuously have up everywhere, in some ways, visual to see whether it's shifting or not. And what I love about that tool is now, yes, just an example of an outcome of how a visual or your picture could look. So once you've identified your numbers, then you just join the dots, and then you look at your picture and you say, what is this saying? What is it? What is coming up for you when you see your own result? Wow, I didn't realize that it looks like that. You then can identify, where do I want to start focusing on? So intentionally focusing on an area. What am I going to do? And then further on, by when am I going to do that? So you can really set some beautiful goals around this tool as well. And so once you have this result, once again, as I say, you don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. Once you have the result, it's about, how do I manage it now? Because whose responsibility is it? It's mine. It's your responsibility. It's your life balance wheel. So with that in mind, what is my strategies going forward now? Who do I need to engage with if I can't do it myself? Who's my accountability partner around this? This is where coaching comes in as well. And I say in coaching, this is really one of the most insightful tools in a very short space of time. A coach has privy to one's life that you're working with, and they, of course, receive that as a strategy for them to move forward as well. So together, you can achieve goals in the coaching conversation moving forward. For me, this is very indicative of to say, wow, what am I in overdrive on? And it gives you the power to step away and say, I need to decrease in this area of my life for another area to increase. For me, taking new concepts to market and new businesses to market, my play and recreation was at a 1 at one stage, but my career was at 10 because why? I was in my passion, and I was on the go. I was eating, sleeping, and drinking it. Possibly on a way to another burnout if it's not managed well. But now that I have the knowledge of what it was to be burnt out once, we have the tendency to go there again because it's who we are in our personalities, and my personality especially is go, go, go. But it's learning to find coping mechanisms and having flags, red flags, come up and say, listen, it's my responsibility. I need to remember to put back into my tank. If I don't do that, the tank will run empty, and I will have, the next, I'll have to take the consequences of that. So yeah, it's a really powerful tool.
Just one comment that was shared online now as well is being deliberate from Kim. Kim shares with us. Thanks, Kim, for that. Thanks for sharing. Being deliberate makes a difference in all areas of our lives, right? I think that that deliberate, intentional kind of approach. She says one of the things she does is she does dance classes with her daughter once a weekend. I know, Linda, that's something you completely relate to, right?
You're giving my secrets away. I love my dancing. Oh, yes.
It affords you, to just tap out of the rat race, I've got to get stuff done. I've got to do this. It allows you to just be something that you are. And one of the conversations is the ability to step away, like the match that's moved down on the slide, the ability to just step away and to regroup. And it doesn't have to be an enormous thing. It can be the slightest little bits of process and micro behaviors that you start putting in place. But it can interrupt that process and therefore not just burn out, right? I think it's such a useful analogy and kind of visual to see that just stepping away allows you to find a little bit more ease in what it is we're doing.
Absolutely. And it is our responsibility, So once you've done your life balance wheel, you need to take ownership for that, because you're then responsible for your life and you're accountable to your output. And this is where coaches come alongside you too, because they could become your accountability if you feel that you need that accountability going forward. Yeah. So you carry on with this one.
A coach acts as a mirror and a thinking partner helping clients. And that's really what coaching affords us, right? And it's very often, it's funny. I always play with my clients. And it's like, well, I get paid to listen to a very large degree because I get to listen. I take a lot of notes. And as I'm taking notes, I ask questions. That's all the sort of back and forth is. And it's that mirror, that a person holding the mirror and partnering up with us in that moment. I think that's a really important one. But for burnout, spot burnout signals early. And I think when you're feeling that, that consistency of the unease that's coming up, whether it be in the work environment, an emotional, intrusive thinking, all of these facets that could lead to that, catch yourself, catch the trigger, phone a friend and say, maybe I need help. Right. And if you don't, come to a Hello Coach, get online and we can help with that. Right. Reflect on the triggers. And I think a nice way, and the wheel, the balance wheel of checking the audit of our lives will help. And co-creating a realistic value-driven action plan to restore balance, energy, and focus. And I think what I want to, especially with people who are feeling overwhelmed, very often it's doing nothing and lying down and sleeping feels easier than coming up with an action plan, right? I know, I've been there, I've got the t-shirt, I know how it feels to feel overwhelmed.
Relate.
And right? And so I think I'm not suggesting, and I know I'm sure Linda's not just suggesting that you do this massive like action plan. It's literally printing out that balance wheel and kind of sitting there and plotting just for a few minutes and kind of just having the awareness. And then tomorrow you take another 10 minutes of doing something and systematically working at it that slowly, if that's what you need. Because this is not about quick fixing. This is about really looking and catching yourself and kind of going, before you get to that burnt out match kind of position, how do we catch ourselves and take some small actions to help reinforce how we make these changes and do it actively and intentionally, right?
Absolutely. And I always say, if it's only one step you take. I've worked with a life balance wheel where a client will have one goal that they've set, and it's amazing how it will unlock other goals within the wheel as well. So it's really a powerful tool to reflect on and have some introspection on, and highly recommend it going forward. And setting your next step of goal setting, very powerful. In its simplicity, believe it or not. I always say good things coming in simplicity. So there you go.
And so we shared this as well. We shared it last week, and I think it's just for those who haven't seen it yet, please QR code this and scan it. You can scan with your camera. Most phones at the moment do this, so you can just scan it, check it out, and we'll literally take you to the Hello Coach's value tool that's available for you to use, guys.
Yeah, and to identify those top 5 core values is so important, because it really, in a short space of time, gives you an opportunity to work with whatever's coming up, because mostly when you're triggered, it's one of your values being triggered. So that's recommendable to do that as well.
And then this analogy, when we were chatting through this information, I think some people have looked at the balance wheel, that and auditing of life, and going, well, it's just impossible to get a 10 for everything. I'm too busy to get a 10 at spirituality and relationships and career. It's just, and I was taught, one of my coaches taught me, what's beautiful about reflecting on your world is that it doesn't need to be all 10 or at the same time. What it needs to be is it needs to create part of a beautiful symphony of your life. And essentially the symphony of life in itself looks at, when an orchestra plays together in a piece of music, they don't all necessarily play at the same time, but sometimes the strings play, sometimes the trumpets play, sometimes 2 of them play together. And then sometimes you have the full force of the orchestra and they all beautifully at their own place, doing their own thing. And yet as a symphony, a beautifully conducted symphony, it comes together so wonderfully well. Yet there's so many facets that need to be taken in consideration. But as the conductor of your own life, it becomes, well, how are you conducting? And are you aware of what you're conducting? Are you aware that your strings are missing from your life right now, right? You need more strings, right? And it's the conductor of life that's really going to help us conduct the symphony in a far better, more beautiful, cohesive way. And I think that's my sort of message to people today around this conversation, because burnout is rife in our society. It's happening all the time and we are struggling. And what we can do is take small little actions and be the conductor of our lives to see what needs a little bit more attention for me to feel a little bit better than I did yesterday. Linda, anything you want to add?
I love this this metaphor that you brought forward, because we are the conductor of our lives, and we need to find voice in what is important for us in life. And unless we are introduced to these type of discussions and forums that we are presenting at the moment, and the tools, we don't know where to find voice. And we have so many different roles we play. We talk about burnout in the workplace, the consideration of burnout in the home space, having elderly parents with us that we take care of today, with our children and ourselves and our working environment. I mean, there's just so many facets of what burnout could mean. But if we're not there and take care of ourselves, it's like that the story around you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else, like the masks dropping from in the airplane. Put the mask on yourself first before you help anyone else. We have to get to a place so we are important to ourselves first and foremost, but more than that, for who we are, we're important to others as well. And but it mustn't be the other way around. We're only important for others and we forget ourselves. So yes, engaging in this format is very important. And so I just want to position Hello Coach. It looks like one of our visuals went amiss there, but it's not a black hole, I promise you. But just to quickly look at what our app is, it's all about ease. So we really look at an approachable aspect to really provide target audiences for opportunities to engage with our platform. And we have various topic-based discussions that you can select as coach, as individual, and then find a specialized coach that can hold your space with whatever is your burning issue at the moment. So we have 4 categories: workplace, lifestyle, health and well-being, and relationship. And beneath that, there's 34 topics. So it's really a good starting point. Once again, another tool for you to unpack what you may be dealing with and be exposed to more tools in that conversation, more skills transfer, and possibly even a mind shift towards a growth mind shift. And that's really what the coaching platform has on offer. So yes.
Just a recap of what we discussed today, guys. I would encourage you to go check out the video. Also, we're running short of time. Sorry, Linda. But
no problem.
What burnout looks like, there's a variety of things that we need to look at. There's a number of triggers, from external events to internal events to your environments to emotions to beliefs that we might get stuck behind. We've got practical steps, and just to recap on some of the quick, easy ones is to know what your values are, right? Know what your values are. Do a bit of your audit on your own life. And find how you can really align whether your values are meeting your immediate life, and if there's discrepancy, to figure out what that is. And figuring it out with someone usually helps you get from a coach's perspective. So if you haven't yet, go and check out the Hello Coach app, guys, because that is what there's in those 34 categories. There's a number of coaches who can help, and that's one of the points I want to make is every coach that you see on the app will also align with your value system, right? So you'll find someone who's applicable to who you want to, who kind of gets you from that perspective, right? And that's really important. Then just the last, we've got a Q&A before we go to our special offer today. One of the questions, and I just want to see if we can get to that. We've got about 8 minutes, Linda. So I've struggled to say no because I don't want to let people down. How do I set boundaries without damaging my relationship or reputation at work? And that's a biggie, I think, when it's because very often we don't want to nobody wants to let people down, but you get so overwhelmed and overworked. I struggle to say no because first and foremost, I haven't put those boundaries in place, but very often we don't know what the boundary is based on the fact that we don't know what we value. Because, if we value a certain set of ways of doing stuff, it could feel quite overwhelming based on the fact that you don't want to let people down, but you also don't really know what your value system is to kind of figure out how to put that in place. What do you think, Linda?
No, and it's always that starting point. We also need to get to the bottom of what about us wanting to please everyone all the time. So that's a much deeper discussion, but a good place to start is with one of these tools, and then possibly when that enlightenment is there, to then engage with a coach on something that you'd like to explore further. Just a moment.
Yeah. So, and sorry, Linda's grabbing a glass of water there, guys. But
apologies for that.
But it's finding that balance, right? Because if we don't find the balance, we don't know what to put in place. And as you say, it could be a deeper conversation, and that's why having a coach could help you mirror and get that feedback and trying to go, okay, so what is it? What is it that's really help keeping you in this position? And what are the next steps you can take to alleviate? And values is a good one. Auditing your life is a good one. In our next conversation, we're also going to have a tool that you can also use to unpack this for understanding oneself even further. But I think that really speaks to me. It's like practical little steps like that you can start with, that will help you understand where your boundaries are. And usually when you're doing this, get people involved, right? I would suggest, especially at work and in a close relationship, get people involved and do a values exercise together. Do a bit of an audit together and kind of go, what is it that we're wanting to achieve? Because the moment we start educating, having these wonderfully healthy conversations like this and informing, we get more clarity rather than just harboring and avoiding, because that's not going to help either.
Yeah, to speak into that, what I believe the values exercise does is really highlight your value. It'll highlight that you are worthy. And in that journeying and journeying with your value system and your life balance wheels and all the tools we're going to discuss will bring steadfastness with himself, where you find voice. So speaking into the question we just had now, when you find voice, that's when you can push back and say, what is expected of me right now? How, this we need to relook at. Can we recontract this way of doing business together or life together? Because it's not serving you as a person, and possibly ultimately it's not serving the person receiving it, because we store up a lot of frustration when we find ourselves pleasing everyone and we're not pleasing self in that space. So really these tools really help you to find voice and start exploring that way and starting to respond differently, because if nothing changes, you won't have a different outcome. You need to look at what you need to possibly unlearn and relearn to do differently going forward. So yeah, these tools are that for you and the discussions that go with it.
Yeah, like if nothing changes, nothing changes. So what are you changing? Change things, right? Okay. For our last takeaway, and guys, it's a special offer from Hello Coach. It's been a wonderful short marketing. It's been wonderful marketing to do this promotion. I was going to say promotion. There we go. Promotion for the month of September. But Linda, I think there's more to it, right? You could tell us more about it.
Right. So we're extending our September offer to October because of it being the mental health month. We're so passionate about mental and emotional mastery. We're speaking into mastery. You need to become the master of your emotional and mental well-being going forward, and so we're really offering this special offer of a R1 to start your journey of coaching. So if you've never engaged with coaching, this is your time. Download the app from hellocoach.coza, register and select a topic, go through a payment gate, and put the enter the promo code of Hello Rand 1 into that space. So you will be paying something, R1, for the start of your journey to engage with a coach, unpack facets of your life that you'd like to start discussing and start taking steps towards for a better life and and a better workplace going forward. Yeah. So please
Yeah,
engage. Yeah,
There's-
you still got a while to do that.
yeah, I just want to say that for me, what's brilliant about it is the 34 categories. Like, there are very few platforms I know that I'm aware of that you can engage at that level at so many categories. And what's beautiful about it, this week we can speak about this, next week you can speak about something else, have a different coach, have a different topic you can engage in. And this offer is happening for September and October, guys. So go and grab it, go and check it out, scan, and go and join us, right? Come and say hello on the Hello Coach app. Lastly,
Yes.
I think, yes, for our next session, we're going to be speaking about 6 human needs. It's something I'm really passionate about. I've been using this as a tool, and I have an assessment that you guys can also do. I'm going to be sharing that, and it speaks to the importance of what the 6 human needs afford us from a relationship perspective, from a work perspective, and general life perspective, right? And the importance of that. But from my side, Linda, it's been fantastic to just unpack this again, and thank you for sharing your background, your story. Such a heartfelt story that you've achieved. You've come out from the other side from doing the work. So it's just amazing to just hear someone who's gone through that. And from my side, it's, guys, join us for the coaching hour. We'll be back in the second week, or 2 weeks from now. It's a live space where coaching meets conversation, transformation happens in real time. And that's all I want to share. Linda, your closing sentences for today.
Right, so I'm full of gratitude for having a second chance in my life, and I want to invite others to start leaning into that. It might even be your third stage of your life, so please start considering that. And then I want to just express my gratitude to you, Kevin, for this opportunity. And it's wonderful to have you as our ambassador for Hello Coach. So thank you so much. You really enriched our lives having you around too. So yes, we invite everyone to engage, and we bless you for a good 2 weeks again, and we'll see you online from there onwards. Have a good time.
Fantastic.
Enjoy your weekend.
Have a fantastic weekend. We'll chat soon. Cheers for now. Bye.